We have a variety of news to discuss today, including Captain Shea Weber of the Montreal Canadiens is out injured. Ilya Kovalchuk looks to be making yet another NHL return. We also have some trade rumors with expansion draft implications. And unfortunately, Jake Virtanen of the Vancouver Canucks is being presented with some pretty serious allegations. We'll discuss all the latest news coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I said, we have a lot to talk about here today, a variety of news, so let's dive right in and get started. First up, last night, Shea Weber, captain of the Montreal Canadiens, was out of the lineup, and he is expected to be out of the lineup here again today. It appears as though he is dealing with some sort of an upper body injury that head coach Dominic Ducharme has indicated that he's been kind of dealing with for a while, and it sounds like they kind of wanted him just to get out of the lineup, to have a chance to get it rested up, and hopefully get better so that he can be a little bit healthier for the playoffs. Right now, the Habs are still looking pretty good to make the playoffs. They still have, mathematically at least, a little bit more work to do, but things are getting better. Of course, they picked up a big win last night against the Winnipeg Jets, which certainly will really help here. Their game against the Senators today will also be quite effective. If Ottawa wins, they're mathematically still in it as well, not to mention the Canucks and the Flames. So Montreal really needs to win today to kind of secure their spot here down the stretch. So obviously having Captain Shea Weber out along with other guys, they have a lot of money out of the lineup right now. You know, you get Gallagher and Tatar and others. Like, it's really adding up there. So we'll see how the bruised and battered Montreal Canadiens can make do here. Caden Primo is supposed to get the start tonight. Still no further updates on Carey Price. He is expected to be back sometime next week, but we'll see when that happens and how hopefully he can be on his A game, because they really need Price to be back and to be back playing at his absolute best if they're going to have a real shot in the playoffs, at least in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. One signing as well to discuss today that was a little bit surprising. The Columbus Blue Jackets are signing 2020 first-round pick Yegor Chinakov from the KHL. He was a bit of a reach, I guess you would say, in the first round of the draft last year. Many people were very surprised by that selection, and he has opted not to renew his contract in the KHL and will be signing with the Columbus Blue Jackets and coming to North America. So clearly a team that needs scoring and is looking to be more offensive for next year. This is certainly a really good news. I know when he was first drafted, not only was he a surprise pick based on where they selected him. I mean, there were some scouts that had him way later, like we're talking way later in the draft, and there were some I believe didn't even have him on the board. So they kind of really went off the board with the selection, and many felt that he might stay over in Russia for an extended period of time. So for him to be coming over that quickly is another hopefully positive surprise here. I did see a few good highlights of his this year. It looks as though he's continuing to make progress, so we'll see how that works out. But Chinakov should be in Columbus to play with the Blue Jackets here real soon. Hopefully things work out for him in Columbus. Now, staying with the KHL, Ilya Kovalchuk is looking to make yet another NHL return, and this has been confirmed by multiple reports, multiple sources out there. Of course, he just won a KHL championship along with some other former NHL talent that you'll be aware of, including Nail Yakupov, former first overall pick of the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, head coach there is Bob Hartley, who coached in the NHL for an extended time with teams like Calgary, Colorado, and others. So Kovalchuk, after winning the championship, has been able to get out of the remainder of his contract. They worked with Avant-Garde to cancel the remainder of the contract, and he's now a free agent looking to make another NHL return. So, of course, we saw the last return of Ilya Kovalchuk go to the Los Angeles Kings. Year one really didn't work out overly well. In year two, didn't even get through it. Ended up getting benched for a good stretch. Got bought out through unconditional waivers. And then ended up signing with Montreal, where he played probably his best hockey during his NHL return. At the deadline, before everything got shut down last year, he was traded to the Capitals to have a chance to play with his buddy Alex Ovechkin. And, of course, unfortunately, they didn't have a lot of playoff success that year. And, of course, things had to get shut down, went to the bubble and all that. So, things were kind of complicated. But his last NHL return, you could say it wasn't overly successful except for a brief period when he was with the Habs. So where will he go this time? It's certainly up for debate. I know there was a lot of people that had the impression, at least, that when he was traded from Montreal to Washington, that he and Marc Bergevin sort of had like a handshake agreement, if you will, that he would re-sign with Montreal in the offseason. But of course, that never ended up happening. Hard to say if Montreal will have any interest next year. Their salary cap situation is completely different now. Bergevin has made several moves, including last offseason at the deadline, etc. So it's really difficult to say if they would even have an opportunity there. I really don't know what he would accept for a contract. I don't think he's going to have a whole lot of bargaining power. I mean, based on how he played in Montreal, maybe a little bit more than league minimum, but I don't really think there's going to be a ton of interest unless it's like $1 million or less. At least that's what I would think, but you never know. There are teams out there that would be surprising. And I just don't see him signing with just anybody. I mean, if a team that's not anywhere near the playoffs or they're going through a rebuild or anything like that wants to offer Kovalchuk a contract, I don't see him going for that. The only reason he wants to come back to the NHL is he's yet to win a Stanley Cup. He made that clear the last time around, and I don't see how anything is different this time. After winning another KHL championship, that's clearly what his motivation is to chase the Stanley Cup championship now. So whether he goes to Montreal or somewhere else, I don't know, but we'll have to be keeping our eyes on the Ilya Kovalchuk sweepstakes here. If it turns out to be a thing or not, I don't know. Like I said, I don't see there being huge interest, but we will see. But Kovalchuk wants to have another stab at the NHL, so let me know where you think might give him an opportunity and where we might see him play possibly next year. Just wanted to quickly acknowledge as well Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars, who won Rookie of the Month for the month of April. So he certainly has closed the gap big time on Kirill Kaprizov in Minnesota. I know Kaprizov is older, and a lot of people are kind of rubbed the wrong way by the fact that he's basically played the equivalent of 5 or 6 pro seasons during his time in Russia and now in the NHL, and a lot of people don't think it's fair. But at the end of the day, the rules are the rules, and maybe they should be changed, but it's not his fault. And the rules are what they are today, saying he is indeed an NHL rookie. So he's certainly going to be, a finalist for sure. Good chance he could win, but lately there's also a really good chance Robertson could win. I guarantee the people that are voting, if they're looking at the fact that the point totals and the impact are pretty similar now, and the fact that Kaprizov is older and has more pro hockey under his belt, I would think that they'd be more likely to lean towards Robertson, saying that it's more impressive on what he's accomplished, but I guess we will see. But I think it's fair to say it's pretty much become a two-horse race. At one point, goalie Kevin Lankinen of Chicago was more in the mix. Early in the season, Ty Smith in New Jersey was in the mix. We've seen Senators rookies Josh Norris and Tim Stützle be in the mix as well. But they've both kind of somewhat faded to the conversation. I mean, Norris has continued to put up good points. I would say Josh Norris has a good chance to likely be that third finalist. I don't know he really has a shot at being any more than the third place in votes right now, given the fact that Robertson and Kaprizov are both a decent amount ahead of him on the point total. But Norris gets a lot of responsibility being the top line center in Ottawa, plays against a top competition every night. He's playing on the power play. He's scoring lots of goals. I think he's got 16 goals now, I believe it is. So, he certainly deserves a lot of recognition and contention as well. But like I said, I think he's going to be well enough to become a finalist. And that's probably about it. They've only got 6 games left with the Senators, so not like he can really do a ton of damage, but you never know. If he goes on a small tear here, maybe he can get himself more so in the conversation. But good on Robertson for winning Rookie of the Month in April. Now, as I mentioned as well, I also want to take a quick look at some trade rumors with expansion draft implications. Now, there's some rumors that some NHL veterans might be willing to waive their no trade clause or no move clause for the expansion draft, including Milan Lucic in Calgary, which I found a little bit surprising, but NHL insiders believe he will do that to help the Flames protect other members of the roster here to kind of keep more of the team in place. Obviously, he probably feels the chances of him getting selected are pretty slim given his contract. Same goes for Eric Johnson with the Colorado Avalanche, which is a little bit less of a surprise because I've heard that dating as far back as even last season that Johnson would be likely willing to do that. I mean, the Avalanche are going to be in a tough spot. They're likely going to lose a good, solid young defenseman, or if they go 8 skaters and protect 4 of them, they will end up losing a guy like Donskoy or Burakovsky or JT Compher or one of the pretty decent forwards, maybe Tyson Jost. Either way, the Avalanche are a team that's definitely going to be losing a decent player, but both of those teams, especially the Avalanche, I would imagine they will will likely be making a trade or two before we get to the expansion to move things around and shake things up to minimize what they lose so they can hopefully get something back. That's pretty much for certain. The Nashville Predators are another team that are rumored to possibly leave guys like Matt Duchene or Ryan Johansson. Good chance that at least one of them could be made available in expansion, knowing that there's pretty much no chance they're going to be taken, so they can protect something else instead and reduce the minimize what they're going to lose. But the Preds are another team there that would love to be able to trade Johansson or Duchene. Both those big ticket centers are not working out. They've had the worst luck there getting guys to come in on long-term deals for center icemen, and it just not like look at Kyle Turris didn't work out. Johansson he's a good player, but he's not an $8 million player. Same goes for Matt Duchene right now. So we'll see what David Poile does. We know he's not afraid to pull the trigger here. They've played their way back in contention for the playoffs, so they didn't really do much at the NHL trade deadline. And clearly, I think they're going to have some work to do in this offseason, though, because even though they might be able to be a playoff team, they're certainly, at least in my opinion, they're not a Stanley Cup contender, and they need to shake things up and see if they can move one of those big contracts, if at all possible. Matt Dumba, the Minnesota Wild, another player that's fully expected to be traded here. Obviously, if he were made available, he will definitely be the player selected from the Minnesota Wild for Seattle. But again, they are likely going to have to make a significant trade. They would like to get a top 6 center in return for Dumba, and if teams continue to play hardball, they might have to minimize what they're going to get for that trade, or they might have to let Seattle take him. But I would imagine that he won't get to Seattle. That would be my guess. But Dumba is another player with expansion draft implications at this point, so all indications are still pointing to the fact that he will indeed be traded once their season is over. Now, as I mentioned as well, we have some not so good news regarding the Vancouver Canucks and forward Jake Virtanen. Now, there's been some pretty serious allegations made against the player here, and the Vancouver Canucks have officially placed him on leave while things are investigated further. They put out a statement earlier, which I'll show you here on the screen as we go through this, essentially saying that these types of allegations are made extremely, taken very seriously by the franchise, and that they're not going to be able to have him in the lineup here while things are being investigated. So certainly Jake Virtanen has already deleted his social media. So that, some people were saying that it makes him look guilty. I'm not really sure if it does or it doesn't. I think he's probably trying to avoid being attacked, but it doesn't. I don't know if it makes him guilty or not, because we really don't know a lot about this situation. But obviously, when it comes to sexual assault, it's something that's very serious. I don't think anybody should be condoning it in any way. I hope this is something that he did not do, because it's going to ruin the young man's career if he did indeed do such a thing. And it's really a bad news distraction here for the Vancouver Canucks, who are, they went through a tough COVID situation for like over 3 weeks. They came back, played a couple of solid games. Ever since then, they've been struggling. They look tired, and now they have to deal with this. It's a really bad scene, but Jake Virtanen will be on leave. It's really difficult to say how long, because I'm not sure what kind of timelines we're looking at for things to be investigated. I'm sure the league is involved here as well. Like I said, these types of allegations are taken extremely seriously, and they have to be looked into before they can really decide what comes next here for him. So I don't really know what more to say about it. I just hope that it didn't happen. I hope it's not true. But it's something that for right now doesn't look good. It's never a good thing to be going through those accusations for anybody. Unfortunately, we've seen cases before with public figures where they've been falsely accused. So everybody deserves their day in court. Everybody deserves the opportunity to be innocent until proven guilty. So we're just going to respect everything that's gone on so far and not make judgment just yet. I just hope for his sake that it's not true and they can move forward here. But we'll have to wait and see what comes from this as the league and the team investigates the situation. So let me know your thoughts on everything discussed here today down below in the comments. We can discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the NHL news from all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.